Hey, David. Roxana. We're getting closer to a quorum. Hey,
Yes.
Susan. Hey, Chase, how you doing? Welcome.
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Hey, Francis. Hey, hey, Jackie. Hey, Gail.
Yes.
We need to have a conversation about this committee. We have, what, 32 people on this committee? And if we're going to be virtual or in person, because, you know, now that people are back in buildings, we really should be in-person meetings. I don't know when we'll have that conversation, so.
Whenever you're ready to have that conversation, I have some legal advice on that.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just know that we have a large group, so I don't know like the legalities of that, but if teachers are in the building and staff is in the building, I feel like it would be, if it's possible for us to be in the building, that feels like appropriate and right. And hey, LeVar, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Gina. How about yourself?
Good, thanks. David, I don't
Good.
know if you heard me say hi to you. I said hi to you, but.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I didn't hear you.
Max, hey, welcome to our CCB meeting.
Thanks, Gina.
Do you have a quorum yet, Gil? Are we there yet?
Yes, we are. We have 18 people.
That's awesome. I want us to get started because I'm very excited about what we're doing tonight. And I'm excited that we're together. So I would like to call this meeting of the Culture, Climate and Behavior Committee to order at 6:33 p.m. and ask for the roll call, Ms. Kilmerton.
Yes, Dr. Ammons,
Present.
Ms. Bishop, Mr. Davis,
Present.
Dr. Starks Turner,
Here.
Ms. Kraft,
Here.
Ms. Francois Blue, Ms. Gabadine. Yes. Are you here?
Hi.
Hi. Ms. Jones McLeod.
Here.
Ms. Grimes,
Here.
Ms. Perellis.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Hardwick,
Here.
Ms. Harris,
Here.
Ms. Nitschke. No. Ms. McQueen, Dr. Moore,
Here.
Ms. Stigger, Mr. Martin, Dr. Sanders,
Here.
Ms. Dixon-Spivey.
Here.
Ms. Steffens is trying to
I'm
connect.
actually here.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Mr. Beckton-Goss,
Here.
Ms. Thompson,
Here.
Mr. Waxler,
Present.
and Mr. Henry.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. I believe the next thing on the agenda is to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting. Anybody want to move that?
So
Move to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
None. Oh, that was an aye for yes, right? Okay, great. So welcome to our meeting tonight, everyone. We have and a really, what I find to be important and exciting task. We're going to be one of the focus groups for our superintendent search, which is fabulous. If you're not speaking, could you mute yourself just so that we make sure that it's where the sound is right? So, so our circle tonight is only going to be a 10-minute circle. So you really only get to put 1 or 2 words in the space. And I actually, usually our circles are so focused on us talking about what is happening, like, and how it impacts what we need to do as a committee that supports the work of equity as well as the culture and climate in our building. Tonight's question is just going to be about you. In 2 words, just tell us where you are today. In 2 words. So not a sentence. 2 words. And I'm just going to call on the first person and have you pass it to the next person. So my 2 words are tired and disappointed. And I'm going to pass it to Sherilyn. You're right next to me on the screen, so I'm going to go to you next.
Great. I ditto that. One of my words is tired, but also invigorated. And I will pass to Susan.
Sober and relieved.
Who are you passing to, Susan?
Kyla.
I would say I'm grateful and tired as well. I'll pass to Dr. Roxana Sanders.
Scheduling vaccine.
Mhm.
I'll pass to Karen Grimes.
No. Tired but happy. I'll pass to Laura Hardwick.
Riveted, been watching the impeachment trial all day, and determined. And I'm going to pass to Frances.
Angry and hopeful, and I'll pass to Lincoln.
I'm caffeinated and curious. I will pass to Calvin Davis.
Happy and learning. I'll pass to Max McGee.
Grateful and optimistic.
Well, that was 3 words, Max, but okay.
Oh, grateful,
Yeah.
optimistic.
Okay,
Good
who are you going to
catch.
pass to? Who are you going to pass to?
I'll pass to, where's our young man, Talib? Is that?
I'll say tired and content, and I'll pass it to Dr. Adams.
Thank you, Talib. I will say overwhelmed, but encouraged.
Who are you
And
passing
I will pass it to Chase.
I feel productive and organized. And I'm going to pass to David Walksler.
Curious and hopeful.
Who are you passing to, Dave?
Lincoln?
Lincoln already went. We got Sarah, Nisa, Felicia.
Sarah.
Hi, I am so sorry. My USB is having issues and it keeps turning my camera off, so forgive me for that. I would say anxious and frustrated.
Who are you passing to, Sarah?
Sorry, let me see who hasn't gone. Melanie, did you go?
She did. And Melanie, the question was 2 words of how you're feeling right now. We have a short circle tonight because we're providing input, focus group.
2 words of how I'm feeling right now. Excited, because it's Black History Month.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Who are you passing to, Melanie? I think we have Jackie, Felicia, Nisa,
Jackie.
I am feeling open and grateful. And I will pass to Lisa.
I'm exhausted and overwhelmed. Felicia, is that, I don't know who went to, who didn't go.
Thank you. I feel blessed and restless.
3 words.
I think we've got Kabreem. I think Kabreem didn't go
Right.
yet. Right? Am I correct? Kabreem's the only one that didn't go?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't go yet. Ready and engaged. So.
And I always ask Gail if she wants to get in on that, or Hugo, 2 words. You're muted, Gail.
I'll say busy and overwhelmed.
Productive and happy.
Gail participated in the circle tonight, you all.
Yay.
Okay, I get excited. So we get to be, thank you all. We got everyone, right? Okay, good. Your voices all got into the space. That's important. We get to spend the rest of our time tonight as part of a focus group with Mr. Max McGee. I'll let him introduce himself. He's going to take us through the process of whatever the focus group will look like. And I'm excited that our group, when we first started talking about the superintendent search and started talking about focus groups, one of the things we definitely said was we would really love if CCB could be a focus group. We have a lot of perspectives here, a lot of voice here, a lot of really, and we've done a lot of great things through this committee. So Max, I'm more than happy to turn it over to you to take us through the process. You have until 8 o'clock. And if it's a minute over, I usually will no one will be happy. Okay, just so you know.
Okay, good. Well, we usually these usually will go about 45 minutes or maximum of an hour. So there may be time to debrief or do 2 more words around. I appreciate being included and engaged in the activity. So, well, thank you. I know I've had the opportunity to meet some of you and look forward. I said I was grateful. I'm grateful to be here tonight and optimistic about the feedback we'll get, and also optimistic about the superintendent candidates we'll attract. But before we begin tonight, let me first lay out the why of this and where we are in the process. So the why behind this focus group and many others, I think we have almost 50 meetings, a combination of individual interviews, focus groups, and community forums. We have a staff forum next Thursday and a community forum, an all-community forum on the 23rd. So we gather information about 3 areas. One, what will attract candidates to the district, and what the strengths that the new superintendent will need to sustain. The second thing we want to do is find out from you what the really critical challenges are, both immediate and longer term, that the superintendent will need to address. Immediate being in the first 100 days, the first few months, and longer term meaning 2, 3, 4, 5 years out. The third area which we want to discuss tonight, the qualifications, the characteristics, personal and professional, attributes, experience, expertise that you would like to see in the next leader. So the reason we gather this information is threefold. The first is to recruit candidates, because we want to find candidates that are eager to come to Oak Park River Forest for a host of reasons. They may be attracted by the strengths. They may want to tackle some of the challenges. They may be returning to the area. Ideally, they are the kind of individual that want to make an enduring difference to students, staff, and the larger community. And so when we get the information, we put it together in a what we call leadership profile report, which we share with a network of 90 consultants across the country. And I do want to add that we are also conducting simultaneously a community survey over 2 weeks. So we already have, I think, we may have hit 1,000 participants today. Gail and Karen Sullivan have done a great job of publicizing this, and I know the students will have the opportunity to take it later this week, I think during an advisory period. So we're getting a lot of great feedback from that. So we have this qualitative data from these focus groups, interviews, and forums, quantitative data from the survey. There's also some open-ended comments in the survey, so we have some more qualitative there. And again, we use this to attract candidates from all over the country through our network of consultants who share this leadership profile report. We posted it on our webpage where the job is currently advertised. So we're already getting interest in the job, but I know people sometimes are reluctant to apply until they really have a chance to look at this profile. The second thing we use it for is the basis for interview questions. And for example, I met with a focus group of students the other day, and they actually gave me some great ideas for interview questions. We use it, and then ideally the board uses it for both their first round interviews and then their second, and even if they do a third round of interviews for the finalist interviews. And so there's great information in these for really anything but the standard interview question. We're not really interested in you telling us what strengths and weaknesses are. We want evidence, we want to see work products, and we want to really see what you've done around what the needs are of Oak Park River Forest High School. And we can develop case studies, we can develop scenarios for interview questions. And finally, we use this report during the transition time. When the new superintendent is hired, she or he sit down with us, with the board, and we lay out ideally what a 100-day plan will look like and then goals for the first year. And we draft these, of course, the board will ultimately approve them. So that's what we use the information which we will glean and gather tonight for. As far as where we are in the process, this is the engage phase. We're getting all this feedback, but we're also starting to recruit candidates. I think we have 3 applicants already, and we know we'll have more because we've heard from folks that are highly interested in this position. And it is a very attractive position for many reasons. We look to conduct our screening interviews in March and have the board conduct first round interviews in March, and ideally second round and finalist interviews in early April. And we still have yet to discuss with the board to the extent that this, how the process will look for the second round and finalist interviews, but that's kind of where we are in our schedule. And so tonight, and then I will promise I'll stop talking other than to try to facilitate and calling people and take a few notes. What we'll do is we'll go through these areas. And I would like to stay in order as much as we can, just because it's easier to keep the notes that way. And I know people are eager to jump into the challenges and qualifications right away, probably, but we would like to start with the strengths. And the way we can do this is, we'll monitor the raised hand. I have the participant link open. And as you hit the little raise hand button there and your hand goes up, I'll call you or tell you where you are in the queue. I do want to check on something. Is the chat function disabled, Gail, or enabled? I know we used the chat function for a board committee the other night, but we couldn't keep a record of it. What is the protocol for the chat function this evening?
Don't
Gina
use
or
it.
Gail?
We don't use it, Max.
You don't use it, okay.
No.
Would I be able to use it to put in my email and cell phone later for people to see?
Are you asking people to put things in the chat so that?
No,
I
I was at first, but now I know they can't do that. Can I use it to put in my own contact information?
Could have you, Gail, you could send that to
prefer
the
not.
committee.
Yes, I can send that out.
You could send that to
Okay,
the committee.
I wish you would, because
Sure.
we may not get to hear what everybody has to say tonight, and some folks may not want to say things in public. So I actually had 3 people follow up with me after that last board committee meeting last week, Gail, and just wanted to send me an email, and somebody wanted to talk on the phone for a little bit. So
Sure, that's
Gail,
fine,
if
yeah.
you would just if you would distribute that, that would be great.
Be happy
And,
to.
yeah, and I'm always open to hear from people. So good. Well, thanks for clarifying that. So Gina, can we jump into it, or anything else that you want to say before we start? Okay. Well, good. Well, thank you. So, let's jump in talking about the values and strengths that the new leader will need to sustain. Susan, it looks like I just saw you click your mic. So you want to lead us off, even though your hand wasn't up?
I actually just muted myself, so.
Okay.
I don't have anything. What do I mean? Are you gonna go around to everyone and ask, or you think
I'm just going to go to who has their raising hand. So who is
Okay.
hitting that raise hand? Yeah. Okay. I thought you opened up your mic, so that's why I called on you first. But maybe you were muting it instead.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. So for this first part, which may be the least interesting, but it's still important, is asking about really the strengths of the school and the district and the community. So we have candidates say, who may not know Oak Park River Forest. Now, I grew up in LaGrange. I graduated from Lyons Township High School, so I spent plenty of time in Oak Park River Forest, and actually worked very closely with Kimberly Lightford. When I was state superintendent, she started in the General Assembly, and she and I talked about 40 minutes this afternoon. So I'm very familiar with the community in many ways, but some of our applicants may not be. And so they'll say, what's special about the community? And of course, I can share my own perceptions, but I like to say, well, here's some things I learned from focus groups. Here's what I learned from the Culture, Climate, and Equity Committee. So strengths that the new superintendent would find attractive and will need to sustain. And if you can use that
Max,
raise hand,
Max, the question is strengths in the community. What are the strengths of our community, or the strengths of
and
the
the
school?
school district
School district,
Both.
strengths of our high school, strengths of
and the
our-
community, both. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thank you. You all know I talk a lot, so I'm just trying to hold back. I'm making room for others. So just feel free to unmute yourself and jump in.
I'll start. I'll say the strengths of the community. I think our diversity is a strength. I think that we have highly engaged parents and community members who are very invested in our schools and are deeply involved in many ways in our school system. I think our community is very vocal and willing to share their thoughts, pros and cons, about a variety of topics that they find interesting. Also, our community really values education as a whole, but the arts, also, and I think hold our school system to very high standards, and also in very high esteem. As far as the school, I can just say from a parent perspective, I think that there's always room for improvement. But I think from my own personal perception is that the school is welcoming, has lots of avenues for students to get involved in many different activities that they may be interested in, and have lots of avenues for students also to take courses that interest them and provide, a rigorous education for our students. But, again, there's also areas that I know the school is working on to change some things, about the curriculum. So I think the school is a community of learners and constantly growing and evolving and looking for ways to make the school a better place for staff, students, and families.
Right. Thank you. Very articulate. I love that idea of a community of learners, Felicia. Thank you for going first, too. Calvin, I see your mic is open. So would you like to add on to that, please?
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I agree with everything she said for the most part. We're a very diverse group. I think with the current climate of politics, people can be mean. So I think the new superintendent will really have to be an engaged people person, and will definitely have to make some hard decisions. But I think a very important thing is to kind of admit if an error was made, if she was wrong about something, and be able to retreat and go the other way. I think that's something that's very important in our next superintendent. I mean, our current superintendent doesn't really, I mean, I'm not saying she does anything wrong, but an asset will be what to do when there is something wrong, as opposed to everything going smooth sailing.
Yeah. Yeah, that transparency, being able to own a mistake and willing to admit it. Great. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Thank you, Cal. I'm going to call people by their first names if that's okay. So thanks, Calvin. I really appreciate it. And of course, you can call me by my first name or anything else you'd like.
Hey, Max, we do circle here, which puts everybody at the same level. There's no hierarchy here, so first names are totally cool.
Thanks, Gina. Appreciate that. Good. Other strengths anyone wants to share, and then we'll get into challenges. And again, by the raise hand, I mean that little icon down there, because I can't see everybody on the screen at once. So you may be raising your hand like this, but I only have on my Mac, I only can see 16 of the 21 people at once. So so just use that raise hand icon, or just open up your mic. Lincoln, you're up next.
Thanks. I would say that
Go ahead, Lincoln.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Cool. I would say that a strength of the community is that, relatively speaking, it's relatively well resourced.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there are great institutional partners that the superintendent can leverage. You know, I think about the other school districts in the community. I think about the library. I think about the park district. And so I think the things that, and these are all things that, you know, our students use. So I think there's a great opportunity for institutional collaboration.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. And Gail had set up a meeting with members from both the park board and the library board that was very informative. So thank you. And Felicia, I want to come back to your arts comments too. I had the opportunity last night to talk with some of the Ping board, and it was I'd never heard of anything like that, and it was really informative and just incredible support for the arts. So yeah, appreciate that. Well, let's move on to challenges and then what are both immediate challenges, high priority, and as well as some of the longer term challenges over the horizon that the new superintendent A, will need to tackle, and B, should have some experience and expertise in handling in another venue. You know, every district is unique, but there are some, you know, similar problems and similar issues. And again, we want people that have, can not just talk, but can walk the talk and demonstrate, provide evidence and proof that they have done something impactful. So let's turn to challenges. And I know I've had this conversation with a few of you already, but please, again, use that raise hand icon or just open up your mic and fire away.
I think one of the challenges that we as a community face is that since we're so diverse and we have all of the points of view to consider when making decisions, discussions with the whole community can become a little polarized pretty quickly. And I think that having someone who is good at,
Right.
I was making sure you could hear her. Were you able to hear everything she said, Max?
Pretty much. It sounded a little underwater at the moment, but I got the piece about diversity and then how the community can become polarized. I got that part, Gina. Did I miss something else?
I couldn't hear her completely. And Chase, I really want to capture everything that you said.
Me too.
If half of us turn off our cameras, we will be able to hear Chase easier. So if we turn off our cameras, it will widen the bandwidth or whatever. I've just seen this happen in class, and then we can actually hear Chase. So Chase,
Oh.
go ahead.
All right, can you hear me now?
Much better.
Much better.
Yeah,
It works,
thank you.
It works, yeah.
Awesome.
Great. All
I
right.
gotta leave mine on so I can see you better.
So what I was saying was that since the community is so diverse and we have a lot of different points of view coming in on certain issues, the discussions like community forums and things like that can get a little polarized really quickly. And having someone who can include all of those points of view without starting a screaming match or like starting a really heated discussion and making sure that everyone has their voice heard would be really great for the community and the school as well.
Have some civil discourse,
Right.
right? Instead of instead of butting heads. That's a great point. Are you in school, Chase?
Yes, I'm a senior this year.
You're a senior, good. Hey, thanks for your point of view. Appreciate it, and that matters a lot. Yeah, good. Thanks, Gina. That was really helpful.
Well, that would be a teacher trick. That came from, I learned that from teachers and being, on Zoom teaching. And so, we learned that. But you can, if you're ever having any trouble with hearing people, if a few people turn off their cameras, it makes it easier to for us to hear. So, but we could turn our cameras back on so that,
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, Chase. That was very insightful. Someone else talking about some of the challenges, and then, Chase said, that we need somebody who can really get these points of view included and has just a way with people in managing discourse so that it's civil and not polarized and angry and screaming. So yeah, that was thoughtful, Chase. Someone else. I'd like to hear about the B of this committee, the behavior piece. And I was very curious about how that, the origins of that and why that matters, and if there's a challenge related to that.
Oh, Max.
Now you're calling my
Did I
name.
open a can of worms?
Right, exactly. Like, because Max, just in all transparency, since I became the chair of this committee, I have wanted us to remove that term behavior. Because I feel like if we're focusing on culture and climate, the behavior adds something to it that is, there's a lot of things about it, but I'm gonna let Melanie speak, so I'm not hogging up all the airspace.
Okay, thanks, go ahead, Melanie.
I'm just going to speak from how I view the behavior piece and culture, climate, and behavior from day one. And for me, it's setting a standard of behavior when you walk into Oak Park or River Forest High School. We're not a bunch of animals. We're not a bunch of untamed humans. We are students, we're educators, and we're here to grow and be better. And so for me, that's why the behavior piece was extremely important, because I felt like what I was seeing was, well, just let them be whatever, however they feel for the day. And that's not how you go to be a polished gym. So that's what it meant for me in short.
Mm-hmm. Good. And Melanie, what's your role with the district?
I'm president of, or co-president of African American Parents for Purposeful Leadership in Education since 2013. I'm the voice for our parents with children of color who do not know how to navigate the high school. And we also provide scholarship to our unsung students of color, at Oak Park River Forest High School.
Okay, great. Good. Thank you so much, Melanie. Someone else want to talk about challenges related to culture, climate, behavior, or anything else? We'd like to hear some more. Because again, candidates come in and said, Max, Connie Collins is my colleague on this. What do we need to do? What does the community want? What do I need to focus on to be successful? What should I do right away? And sometimes I'll do some reading. So read this and that, but what's behind what's the backstory? So again, I'd love to hear multiple points of view on this.
Okay, committee.
And I hear Lincoln, I see Lincoln's hand up again, or did you just forget to take it down, Lincoln? Lincoln?
I'm just like, committee, please, like, especially students, like, like,
This is,
okay, just want to hear from you all.
Lincoln, is your hand up or?
I'm just adding a bit of context, and I serve as I serve as a facilitator for CCB, and I have since the beginning. And I don't generally try to talk a lot in these, but just for context, CCB began in an earlier iteration. It was a committee that focused squarely on the infractions of the code of conduct, and so the decision was made to broaden our scope and not just talk about end outcomes. And this coincided with SB 100. Right. But to take a broader look back and say, well, what are the paths that are leading to these infractions? And so that was kind of the impetus for culture and climate, and behavior basically speaks back to the original purpose. And just on your question about challenges, the motivating thing was that I think the challenge is that by and large, this group is together to be a sort of a change agent, to change the culture for the benefit of all students. And I think the core challenge is that there is a segment of the community that has historically been fine with the way things are. And so when you have a community, it's a diverse community, but there's also a diverse set of experiences. And I think a central challenge is reconciling people who are saying this house is on fire with people who are just like, everything's fine. So I think that's kind of a central challenge that we encounter here.
Great. That's a great way to put it, and it very similar to, in some ways, what Chase had said earlier. You have to reconcile these almost polar opposite viewpoints. Yeah, great. Thank you. Someone else, or Melanie, you can continue. Your mic's open, so you're.
Sure. I think one of the fallacies of a new person coming in is that they have to do everything brand new and start from square one. When we've done all of that work, we really need a person that can come, that we can pass the baton to. And please, team, tell me if I'm speaking out of turn here, but we're not looking for someone to come in and completely change the school around. We've been doing that work for 30 plus years now, and we're just now starting to have embers. And so as we pass that baton, I would want to have those first 100 days to really have that person sink their teeth into where we're moving and where we're going, and be able to stand in the opposition of where we're going, because we still have that, and complete what the community has come together to do, what the students have come together to do, and parents have come together to do in these past 5 years, and to make sure different policies that we've had passed stay strong, are enforced, and that the person completely understands not just the role of being a superintendent, but the role of being a person that the staff can come to, that students can talk to, that they can be, relatable, someone that they can actually spend time with, not someone who's locked in the office and you feel like there's a barrier. And that's what we were getting for the first time in my time at OPRF, was a superintendent who came out of the office and met the students where they were at. So I just want to reiterate, we're not looking for someone who's got to figure out, how am I supposed to change this whole school around? No, it's, you should already know how to run a school, and take the time to understand how we want it to be ran.
Be a learner. Learn first, or what Stephen Covey, seek first to understand. I love what you said about relatable, and that again, I heard that from the students. It was in the focus group. I heard, and I think Connie heard it from hers as well, that it's really important to them that somebody kind of knows their names and is around and they're comfortable engaging with. And I think that's a great advantage to leaders of a district like this, a high school district, a one school district. And we are seeing superintendents who want to get back to what they started in, which is about education and connecting with students, staff, and parents. So I appreciate how you noted how important that is. And yeah, it's one thing to have an open door. It's quite another thing to go out through it. So
I'll also add too, I don't
Yeah,
want
go
to
ahead.
limit anyone. So if they can do it faster or better, I'm all for it.
Okay, great, thanks. Susan, you're up.
Okay, so just to give some context of where I'm coming from, I'm a community member, been an Oak Park homeowner since 1984.
Okay.
I had two daughters go through the high school, the younger one in the early 2000s. So it's been 20 years. I'm retired in 2017 as a social worker and committed to youth. And as part of my retirement, I wanted to connect to the high school. I worked in the field of child welfare. So, and I can say and I'm Jewish, and I chose to live in Oak Park because of its reputation, the history of diversity and commitment to racial integration. And we live at a time right now where there is so much polarization, and we have, people keep talking about diversity, and there are many layers of what, kinds of diversity that we're not really being explicit about. But I would say that I'm concerned about the I think we're here in Oak Park, or I'm here still, because I've seen this community as a leader community in the area of social change, specifically around race. And we've seen just, between COVID and a recent incident in our community that was in one of our businesses, it was very upsetting. And some things that I've heard, there's some ugliness here that over the last period of time has raised its head. That's been shocking. And I think we need a leader who is progressive around the issues of education and sees the bigger context of this community as being a potential leader in the nation. We had that, Steve James did that film on us, America to Me, which was really painful to see things exposed, but very helpful. And I think we've really moved incredibly quickly. I was a part of the accountability committee, and that's how I turned out to come to CCB. I'm early and new to CCB. And where I'm speaking from is not as seasoned in the educational system, but really committed as a citizen of our community to keep to deal with the difficult issues. And for me personally, I would say my perspective is it's a huge loss that our superintendent is leaving. I thought she was a fantastic, incredible leader. And I'm just hoping, I'm very excited and encouraged that you said we're an attractive community, but I'm seeing all the fraughtness in the world and, biting my nails about having a transition this important right now.
Yeah. And Susan, just kind of in your professional opinion, how much is this connected to COVID? And there's, so much now about getting, people back to school. And I'm sure, and I know that, I don't know, but I have my own 4 grandchildren who are all eager to return to school. And and part of it, of course, is the political climate and fallout from that. But is this just Susan or anybody else, but from your thinking, is this going to be more temporary, and once kids get back, or what's it, how much of this is related to COVID, and how much is maybe just our other forces?
How much of what? I'm sorry, Max, I just want
What Susan was talking about. She talked about some recent spates of ugliness and maybe being a little discouraged. Yeah.
So you're just let me make sure I clarify your question. Are you asking how much of the racism that we're seeing in Oak Park is related to COVID?
The recent activity.
The overt.
Yes. Yeah.
Things. How much is related to COVID? Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I understood your question.
Yeah. And I would say I wouldn't. I would just say for me personally, I don't see it that way. I don't think COVID is a factor that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I would say Oak Park has prided itself on, in the 60s and 70s, being a leader in a way in which I'm not sure it continues to be and hasn't been. And this was before COVID. I mean, there were, so, yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Susan. Go ahead, Sherilyn.
Sherilyn.
Thank you.
So just to kind of build on the momentum of Susan's comment, I am kind of threefold. I am the trauma-informed specialist at OPRF, parent of a senior, and I will be a parent of an incoming freshman next year, and I also live in the community. But we relocated here from the East Coast maybe 4 years ago or so. So in thinking of COVID, I believe that COVID just gave us an opportunity to stop and see all the ugliness that was lying underneath. I know that when we first moved here, as we were looking for where to live in Illinois, everyone kept saying, oh, you want to go to Oak Park? Oak Park is so diverse and it's great and blah. And so we chose Oak Park and we came here. And when we did, we were not met with the warm and fuzzies necessarily. There were many challenges. At the time, my children were younger, so we were in D97 and met with similar challenges that my son now has been met with at OPRF. And I wouldn't say that he has been met with the grand amount of challenges, but in my work, I've been able to see that students are met with so many more challenges than he even faced. And so I think that COVID gave us an opportunity to stop and feel it and hear it. And as it raised its head, we were in pause. So we got to see it real time, as opposed to pre-COVID, we're always moving, we're constantly working, we're doing. And it's very easy to sometimes dismiss away some of the ugly that raises its head. It's easy to, come up with a quick solution or a quick Band-Aid for things that have come up. And COVID didn't allow us to do that. COVID made us stop and see the injustice, see the inequities, see the haves and have-nots, see who was hurting and who was not, who was greatly affected. And many of the folks who were affected by COVID have been affected. It just took COVID for us to really stop and see, for everyone to see. There are groups of us who in our work see the trauma every day that students face and that families face, community faces, but it's a pandemic, not just for Oak Park, but globally.
Oh, sure.
To truly see and feel the hurt, the trauma, the harm that is typically done daily. And it brought it more to the forefront. So I think in answering your question, some of the issues that we have, a superintendent coming in will need to, I think Melanie said, sit and learn and hear not only the past history, but the very recent history of what has been done, what the students have done, what staff have done, what community activism has done, and bring in their expertise on how to move that forward. Not reinvent the wheel, but this is what you guys have done. This is what I can bring to that fight, that movement, so we can make this a better place.
Great. Thank you so much. Can I ask you a question too, just about trauma-informed instruction? I had a long talk with Senator Lightford this afternoon about, her work statewide and that being one of the pillars of her landmark bill that, Governor will sign shortly. Has the staff done much work, or the high school staff, with trauma-informed instruction? How are they versed in it? Is that something that's awareness level, or beyond that to really more consistent practice? Kind of where are they on that continuum, Sherilyn?
Two answers to that.
Yeah.
There has been work done.
Okay.
It's been my experience that there's been lots of work done in lots of different pockets. My position is newly created for our district. And part of the newly, like January 1, 2021. However, I've been in the district in a different capacity, but part of the work is to bring those pieces together and have cohesive functioning systems of support for students and faculty and staff, and so that everyone feels supported, and that there's places and systems and flow for students who are experiencing trauma, for faculty who are experiencing trauma, for people who are experiencing trauma, and how we can alleviate some of the trauma, but also learn to not re-traumatize people, students particularly, and how to better operate, how to create a flow through the school. So yes, there have been things done, and now we're trying to work smarter, pull it all together so that we have systems of support in place.
Great, good, thank you, thanks. Well, let me go back to some of the challenges. I'd really like to hear some of the students' point of view, and as well as what you would like to see in your next superintendent. So I know we have a few students here tonight, and I happen to see Talib right in the middle of my screen, and Kyla. So I didn't know, would really appreciate just hearing your perspective, if you don't mind. Go ahead, Talib.
I'm kind of going to be echoing kind of what everybody said, because I think OPRF is a unique school because we're a school that's going in a different direction than most high schools. Most high schools are more complacent in where they are. They understand there's an achievement gap between white students and students of color in there. That's how education is. That's how the education system was built, and it's fulfilling its task. So I think we need a superintendent that understands that we're not trying to be like those other high schools. We got blessed to have a superintendent that had the background that she had, so she really understood and felt passionate about this goal to become a different school. Like, we've moved in directions. We've focused on detracking classes, finding restorative solutions rather than punitive ones, looking at shows that close the achievement gap again with different programs. So I think we need to find someone who understands and appreciates the path we're going down, and someone who can help us guide in this process, whether that's because they've had whether they've done this in the past or whether they just have some experience within these different realms. I think that's who we need in a superintendent.
Great, that was very articulate, thank you. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Most high schools, it becomes an issue, once a year when test scores come out and people, oh, what are we going to do? But one thing that has so impressed me about, frankly, since I was in high school, is a commitment of the community to social justice and equity. And I learned that, fortunate for my parents back in the day. And just, so you're absolutely right. Thanks, Talib. I really appreciate that. So someone else wanted to, yeah, go ahead, please.
So I just turned my camera off because I know that's another tool
yeah.
to help with the audio. But I just wanted to say that something that our superintendent, I think, needs to be focused on, and Talib mentioned it, was detracking. I think we've put a lot of talking and planning behind over the last several years what detracking is going to look like, but that's going to require lots of follow-up and a continued effort behind it to make sure that it's successful. And if it's not successful, why is it not successful? And somebody who's willing to look at that data and look at the other data for the other measures that we're doing to combat the systemic racism in OPRF. And I think something also that the superintendent needs to be aware of is, you say that parents are very engaged, but I think they can be vocal to a detriment. They don't always know the full behind the scenes story, and somebody who's willing to take this job needs to know what they're going to be up against.
Right. Thank you. I'm taking notes fiercely here. Thanks, Kyle. It's interesting too about you're right, absolutely right about the parents and know that coming in with a keen eye and clear head. But I appreciate your comments, how the tracking has been planned for a long time, and going back to someone, let's not try to fix it or do something, let's see it through. But I also appreciate what you said about, evaluating, seeing, is it working and what are the different metrics by how it's working? I mean, is it addressing disproportionalities, achievement, growth, and mental health? I mean, there's a whole set of metrics around that was, appreciate you calling out. So thanks. Let's we have another, some time. Let's jump into more of the qualifications, characteristics, attributes, experiences, and what's important to you to see in your next leader. And
Max, can I add too? Like, we have some staff members in this space as well.
Okay, good. I'd love to hear from them.
I know that there are going to be focus groups with staff, but I don't know if the folks that are on our committee are going to be part of those groups. So I would just want to make sure that their voices make it into the space as well. And we have a couple community members also who haven't spoken yet or contributed anything. So yeah, I'm thinking Calvin, Laura, Cabri, that's community. And then David.
Yeah. I'm going down. I saw Karen Grimes and Nina. I saw several people down my left side here of the screen. So, or Nisa, I mean, and Karen, Francis. Yeah, we can talk then. We'll just kind of open it up. Challenges, qualifications, characteristics, and I am eager to hear from some of the teachers because I personally have not met with any teachers yet. I met with a lot of parents and community members and talked to some board members, but who are parents too. But I haven't had parents, but and a couple, one or two parents who are also teachers. But I haven't heard from any teachers, so I'd love to hear from a faculty member or two. And I don't know who you are, so that would be valuable, I think, to the whole group. It would certainly be valuable to our search effort. So I'm looking for a hand or an open microphone. Moving
I'll
on.
go.
Sure.
I haven't said much. I'm new this year, so I feel like my opinion is not as well versed as everyone else here. But I guess like for me, as far as qualifications and things for a new superintendent, and I'm sorry, my toddler is like getting ready for bath. If you hear him like screaming in the background, I'm sorry. But for me, I think it's about their vision and what that looks like for the district as a whole and what kind of students they want, to kind of put out into the community. I think it's more about, I guess, forging like resilient human beings, right, that can go out into the world and do important and great things rather than graduating a set of students who know how to read and write and do math. And so I think it's about how do we, build a space where we are not just teaching students like how to learn, but also how to truly survive in a world that isn't going to be kind to them. So how someone gets there, I think is going to be important, and experience with building a community of relationships, building a school that feels like a family where people are valued and feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. And again, I'm sorry. But, I think that for me is huge, like, and the experience in doing something like that, forming those kinds of relationships. And a lot of that really folds into the trauma-informed like practice, but, in and of that, just making sure that we're not just putting students out there, but people, like real functional people.
Yeah, I love it. Putting functional, real people who are life ready, not just, we hear so much about college and career ready, but and in the world will not always be necessarily kind. That's well taken. And, with the resilience to and the mental health and confidence to work through those tough times. Yeah, thank you. And I did miss what you teach.
I'm a psychologist in the SPED department.
Okay, great, good. Thanks, Nisa. I appreciate the comments. Good, that was very helpful. How about let's ask the some of the faculty and staff directly. You know, what do you want to see in your next leader? What is the ideal leader to you, or what does the school need in a leader, really from the school's perspective? Students as well. You know, please jump in, or anyone else for that matter. But I know we haven't heard from Karen, Francis, and let me go down the list. I don't think we heard from David, Jackie. Go ahead, Karen.
Okay, so I'm a community member. I'm also a former school social worker at the Chicago Public Schools. So I've worked many schools and know about leadership in schools from having worked there. I think part of what we talk about when we're working with students is developing their soft skills, you know, but I think leaders need to have the soft skills of being able to listen, being able to communicate well, being able to be a visionary, but to be able to stand firm and not back down when something's important, but also be able to have the relationships with the staff. I think it's very important in our very strong faculty senate and sometimes the negotiation with them, that you have a strong leader that they'll respect and listen to and won't back down, but also can negotiate with them and with students. I thought our current superintendent had great skills in many areas, and I think a lot of people were very impressed with how she related to the students. Not all adult leaders have that ability in the same way to relate to students and have feel the love of the superintendent to the student. So to make it all a community, a family, all these personality qualities I think are important in a school leader.
Right, good, thank you. Yeah, the value of relationships and being able to negotiate, collaborate, compromise. Absolutely, that's what civil discourse is about. We used that term earlier. Good, thanks. David, I can see on the screen. I don't know if you want to add anything. I think you were on another session the other night too.
Yeah, I just think somebody who has just outstanding collaboration skills. You know, an individual who understands how to take all of the puzzle pieces and put them all together from a restorative lens and creating a consistency and continuity within the school.
Right. Consistency, continuity, restorative. Good, thank you. Laura, Francis, anything you'd like to add? You know, Sarah and I have talked before, so Sarah, you're always welcome, of course, to jump in as well. We had our own conversation early on. Francis, Laura,
sure. Let me.
Gina, you feel free to jump in too. You're being a great chair by going last, but I'm eager to hear what you have to say. As much as we're all equals here, right, in the circle. So, Laura, but you're up. Go ahead.
Sure, and I think a lot of you have touched on this, but I do think a recognition is this is a large school, right? It is as large as some small colleges. So you're dealing with high school students in a very large environment with a lot of, you know, disparate learning activities, so forth, and just sort of having that recognition that it's a big lift and not coming in thinking that they're going to know how to do everything from day one, because it is a complex institution. It's a great institution and it does great work, but it's complex.
Yeah, that's I hadn't thought about that, but you're absolutely right. It is larger than many smaller colleges, and it's larger than the college I went to actually back then. Now my college is a little larger, but that's a great point. And there's some value to knowing what you don't know. That's for sure, and being eager to learn and engage and find out what you do need to know first. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, Calvin, go ahead. Your mic's open.
I think you have to make the person realize they're going to wear 15 hats. and they're going to be beholden to all 15 hats. Everyone is going to be equal. There's not going to be any priority. I mean, you're talking to Kim Lyford. It's definitely a political job, but they're not getting elected to anything. I mean, they have to speak to the board all the time. They have different levels of management they have to address. Student issues come up, fire alarms, anything. I mean, they wear 15 different hats. No one should come into this position thinking, I am the Oak Park River Forest superintendent, where's my big chair? Because you probably won't be sitting in the chair the first couple of weeks, 50, 60 hours a week. And I'm from River Forest, which is the smaller of the two. So, right. I mean, you have a lot of people in town that are very interested in who's going to get the job and how he's going to be chosen and things like that. So there's about 85 different personalities in River Forest. So that means there's like 300 in Oak Park.
Absolutely. Oh, you know, and I'm glad you mentioned the 50, 60 hours a week. Yeah. We want people that have a demonstrated work ethic and realize that that is part of being a superintendent. You know, I was one for 29 years, and it is. I would not go back because I'm plenty energetic and have a lot of high energy, but I don't know if I have that much anymore. So you absolutely have that right, Calvin. Thanks. Good. Someone else. Now, I want to talk about what they would like to see next leader. Jackie, Francis, and either of you. Jackie, go ahead. Your mic's open.
Yeah, I will go briefly. I've been trying to be a listener, given position on the board, and just learn from our well-equipped committee here. But the thing that's coming to mind for me, I appreciate someone that's flexible and of course open and willing to listen, because anyone that comes in deciding already that this is a place that needs to be fixed without having any understanding of really what's going on is always kind of a warning sign. But I am hoping that whoever has done their homework and is also ready to be a courageous leader and affect change and look for impact and understand, all of the challenges that come with this, but be willing to delegate and trust their, staff and trust the folks that they ask to do things and nurture those kind of relationships, because that's the kind of leader I think that will be most effective. Eyes wide open and ready to engage in a way that is not halting the progress that's being made, and also not afraid to offer change when it's needed. So, and I one last thing is that our students, I really am hoping that the student forum, if there's a way for our student leaders to co-facilitate that group, because I've learned the most from our students who, they're the ones that can tell you what they need and what's working and what isn't. We have some alums in this group as well. And it's always fascinating to me to hear things that have perpetuated that aren't necessarily the best things about, our community. And so I think that our students, their leadership and their voice could guide just some insights on what's needed as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And that's, I especially enjoy hearing from them in person, but we also really appreciate their comments on the survey. We had, again, I just finished the search for my alma mater, Lyons Township. We had 600 student responses to the survey and a host of insightful comments, all of which were appropriate. And I remember at the outset, well, you can't, give students open-ended questions. Certainly you can, and you're going to get great information from it. And it was, frankly, they have not announced who they chose. They've made a selection, but I will guarantee student voice played an important part in that. So, and again, I'm going to go back to Gail and Karen others that, and the teachers who are giving up some advisory time so the students can take the survey. And of course, we want to hear from them in the forum as well, but not everybody can participate in a forum, but everybody can let it be known with the power of their pen and their voice what's on their mind. So that's a great point, Jackie. Thank you. Thanks so much. Let me close with this final prompt, and it kind of maybe will help tie all things together. And I had mentioned this at the outset, and Jackie gave us a great segue into this, and that's interview questions. And so we've had quite a discussion tonight, and I have certainly learned a lot from all of you, and really have much more information and background than I had an hour ago, to say the least. But let me ask you this: what if you were us, and we, Connie and I, do the screening interview? And we do the paperwork, we look at the online profiles and images, and we check references. But we do like to have interview questions that are not your standard interview questions. So what would you ask, Candy, if you were us, if you were Connie, or if you were me, and conducting the interview? What would you want to know? And what would you want to see? Jeannie, you want to go ahead?
I do, because I was going to wait for a second, but what I really want, everyone has kind of touched on this a little bit, but what I would ask them is, to what extent are they an anti-racist? Mm-hmm. To what extent are they experienced in the work of ensuring that a culture and a community that they're overseeing is becoming anti-racist and restorative? And to what extent are they willing to work collaboratively with not only with most importantly, the student voice, right? But also like with the teachers union, with the other, there is, for me, what's important is there is a need for us to shift our thinking from this way of being of all of these separate, the boards here, the administration's here, the unions here, the students are over here. There is a real need for us to shift our thinking as far as education from this isolated way of being to a collective way of being, because we're all involved in this. And because our community has so clearly, now my daughter just told me today, my older daughter is a film scholar, and she was doing research, and she told me today that as of 1945, Oak Park was still a sundown town.
Wow.
Now, 1945 is not that long ago.
No.
The 70s was when Oak Park decided it was going to be a progressive and integrated community. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people have touched on this, but the importance of that, the importance of us being that community and our high school being that for students, right? Mm-hmm. All from their experience from the moment that they walk in the door, their experience as they matriculate from elementary school into the high school, and everyone knowing that our environment is an inclusive environment. How prepared are those candidates going to be to actually do that work? Because they need to be aware of the high level of resistance that they're going to face, that is showing itself right now in our community.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, and we like to know what kind of resistance they have faced and how they overcame it in their own communities. And I know Connie and I have had our own firsthand experiences, and we expect people to be able to demonstrate what they have done to overcome obstacles, resistance, obstructionists, because they do exist. And thanks for the bit of history. It's interesting. I graduated from high school in 1968, and at the time, of course, LaGrange was, I don't know if it was a sundown town then, but it was pretty darn close at 10th Avenue there in the east side. And I know my parents were advocate social justice, and we talked about Oak Park even when I was in college. I remember coming home and about what the community was doing, and kind of a model for my parents and for my brother and sister and I growing up. So thanks for bringing back some memories of things that really mattered at the time, and in some ways matter more now. and you think society-wise, we've made a lot more progress. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, but I really appreciate that, Gina. Thank you. Other interview questions that you would like us to raise, experience, expertise you would like us to ensure that they are bringing to Oak Park River Forest, at least to the board for the first set of interviews. I haven't heard from Francis yet, or from Janelle. We talked to you the other day. I had the chance to meet you the other day. Thanks again for joining us this evening. Mr. Henry Kabrib, we talked earlier this week. I'm just going down the list here who I haven't heard from. So
I'll jump in.
Francis, I think it's you.
Yeah, well, you know what? I talked for about an hour with Dr. Collins with just one other person the other day, so I feel like I just wanted to leave the space for others tonight. The one thing I just, you know, everybody has said so much tonight. I would love to see someone who has already had success with the same challenges that we're facing. I don't want to see somebody come in and tell the district what to do because, you know, kind of related to what Gina's saying, it can't be us versus them. It can't be administration against teachers or people in groups. But I do want to see somebody who has faced some of these same challenges at another district that is similar and that they've had great success, not that they're going to come, you know, without these experiences. So to me, that's important. It
is important. And this idea of connecting these different groups and disparate groups is really critically important. I know Gina and others have mentioned that and alluded to it and things. Francis, what was your role in, were you in a group with Connie then, or was it one-on-one?
I was in a group with the E-team, with the equity team.
Oh, the E-team. Okay, good. Yeah. Good. Well, I'm glad you had a chance to spend time with her. Well, good. Well, Gina, that's I've been going about this for an hour or so. Gail's going to send out my email, my cell phone. You can. I'm not one to pick up the phone, as you can see this evening. It rings a lot, and none of those were spam calls. So I get plenty of those too. But you know, if you want to text or you know try to get through on the phone, I'd love to talk to you. If you want to email ideas or make a time to connect, I know I again did that with a couple, 3 folks actually from our community group the other evening. So I want to make myself available and but the mic is still open here for a little bit before I turn it back to Gina for any final wrap up. But Melanie, go right ahead, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask in case it was already mentioned and I didn't hear it. You said you met with, it sounds like a lot of the community groups, but have you met with any student groups, not the leaders of the groups, but the student groups like Blue at all? Have you met with Trapeze or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so we had, I had the student board advisor, some student council members, a Trapeze representative in my focus group. And I know Gail is set up with other groups with Connie. I don't know if that's scheduled or not scheduled, but I know she was at least at one point scheduled to meet with groups that may have had to be rescheduled.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is for us to get a robust feeling from students and not a student. I feel like they are, and guys, I do not want to speak for you, but I do feel that they're more open to talk when their peers are around versus us. And so if you're talking to all the theater students, or if you're talking to all of the choir students or to Glee, you know, I just maybe that audience of kids hearing their peers say something, they might want to piggyback on it versus, because I like small group, don't get me wrong. I like small group, but I still feel a disconnect that all of the students don't know what's going on and all of the students haven't had an opportunity to say, oh, I didn't know that was happening. You know, if my friend speaks, maybe I'll speak. So I just want to make sure this time around, however that can be done, you know, if they're practicing, if they're coming together, and just like you said earlier, the advisory teacher gives you time. Or no, the advisory teacher gives the students time to reach out
Right, exactly.
to you. So if it's maybe during their time, maybe they would give up, a few minutes of their meeting, just so they know what's going on. They can see some faces and say, hey, you can reach out to me directly if you don't want to do it in group. But I just really want to make sure we saturate the students, because a lot of us here have students at the school. My kid knows nothing about it. If I wasn't here, she wouldn't know. So
Yeah, yeah, really. And
Can I add something to that, Max? Can I
excuse
add
me,
something
Gina?
to that? Can I add something to that? Thank you so
Please.
much for bringing it up, Melanie. And this is actually a question for you, Max, because one of the things that we had talked about was having affinity group conversations. And Melanie brought up Blue and also SAFE, right? The Black student leaders and also students advocating for equity, as well as, those groups. And having them have the opportunity to have discussions or focus groups with you all, with their affinity space groups.
Sure.
So I'm wondering about that happening as well.
So we would love that, but I'll tell you what. So this is going to be a conversation I'm going to have with Sarah offline. We in our contract, I know this sounds silly, we had 36 groups. We've had 48 already, and we are well over our time. So we are going to, and believe me, we want to meet with as many people as possible, but we also need to be aware of our time too. And I think that's only fair.
Educate us, educate me, because that's something I would have never known of. But I just want to say, I would have prioritized who's in the school versus who's outside of the school.
So we, and I understand that, and we just asked the school to set up these groups, and, Gail's done an extraordinary job of us having the opportunity to meet all these people. So we are, especially during daytime, I don't have a night available until February 24th. But I have much more time available in the day. But that's something, I can talk with Sarah about. I know she's on this, so I'm glad, Sarah, you had the opportunity to hear this.
Yeah,
because Connie and I have talked
definitely
about this.
want more input rather than less, for sure. So we can talk about it.
And so we're glad to do it, but we just need to bill for it. I mean, it's just, we do run a business, and I don't want to sound harsh or cold, but it is a business, and we've already donated, frankly, 50% more than we initially planned, and we're happy to do it. I mean, I love talking to these kids. I have a 17-year-old grandson who's with us every weekend. My wife and I, and his 3 or 4 friends come over. We learn more from them than we ever would hear from his parents, or that's for sure. So I certainly understand how important that is. And, if we can set up sessions during the daytime, and, we'll talk with Sarah about how to handle the billing for this, and be glad to do it, Melanie and Gina and everyone else.
Yeah, and I mean, and like we've already sold ourselves to you on what this community is about, we will step up to assist and make, creative ways for as many more students to be involved. I just don't want them to, I just don't want to hear a student say, I had no idea, even Dr. Pruitt Adams was leaving. So if we could do that, or even, I just think we're more than willing to help figure out something, so the students can be engaged. We could even start our own campaign of, what do you want your new superintendent to be like, look like, something.
Sure. So, Gail, when are they doing this survey? Do you remember offhand? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Okay, good.
And I want to let you know that the students of SAFE and Blue were invited to a focus group this afternoon.
Right. Good.
Go, Gail. That's
she's so good at this.
Gail.
You were on it, Gail.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how many attended, but they were definitely invited.
Okay. And again, back to us. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Moore.
I'm sorry. I just had a question in terms of the next phase, when we can get community input, perhaps with our finalists. I think that's a great time as well, to make sure that our students and, groups like Apple and other parent groups and things like that are able to, kind of test out the finalists, particularly as we're in this kind of hybrid Zoom-ish environment. It's harder to get a handle. So the more time that we can have our school community be involved, I think that would be really helpful. I know we had talked about that as part of the search process, but also I guess wanted to let, I think our community needs to know that as well, that's another opportunity to be able to get some more information on what's happening.
Right. Yeah. And then of course that would be a decision of the whole board of how they want to run the finalist interviews. But we are have done these for other districts. We've done it via Zoom webinar and had the candidates give a short presentation, and then really open question and answer session. But we use the Q&A function for that. We don't use the chat but they can answer 30 questions in an hour and give a 10-15 minute presentation. Then we open up with a community feedback form as well. We have just use a form, simple Google form for people to provide feedback, which we then share with the board members so that they can make an informed decision as well. So but again, however that works, that's really a board decision as we get to the finalists. But I appreciate the engagement. This has been great engagement, and it has all along the way. I mean, I don't even know where our count is yet, other than about 1,000 surveys. But we've talked to so many people, and
how many groups did you say? How many groups did you say? 40?
We've had 40. I think it's 47.
47 groups.
So
Wow.
that's groups and individual interviews total, right, over the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And your average, you said, is 30?
We contract to do 35.
Oak Park is so extra.
It is. We didn't even know it. We just got going on the pace. And
wow.
Then, and Connie and I were just getting together, and I said, we got to count this up. And so we love to do it, but we also want to be fair to us too. So. But it's well worth it. We have learned so much and really enjoyed all the different personalities we met and learning. I mean, it's been great for us to learn so much. It will certainly inform our interviews, our recruitment, inform the board interviews, inform the transition.
Have you talked to coaches too?
I don't think I've had a coach. I don't think I had the athletic director in my group. I had the theater director. I had the performing arts director.
Okay.
It was a large group. It was about 16 people, and I'll have to go back. That was like 10 days ago.
Oh, no. I was just wondering if the athletic team had their own time with you.
The athletic director was in that meeting.
He was. He should have been in that meeting.
Yeah, I know they were invited, all the directors. So,
yeah.
And it was a large group. They went on like this actually over an hour. So they had their say. It was great to hear.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate all your input every single time. And thank you, Max, for your facilitation of this evening. Thank you to the committee for everything that we've added. And Max, just so you know, this is recorded and on the website under the board minutes if you wanted to go back and revisit anything that anyone said. I do need to ask for a motion to adjourn because I always forget that. But I remembered tonight, Gail, so I'm feeling accomplished now. It's only been a year and a half.
She's a student.
So moved.
Second.
See, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
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 Thank you all so much. Have a very good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Good evening.